everybody to Online Professional Development offered by the Friday Institute. Really good to have you here this evening. Very excited that we're about to launch our upcoming February 20th online courses for districts under contract. So this is our opportunity this evening to get together and introduce you to the facilitators and learn a bit about the courses and just know what to expect going forward so you can have a really positive and wonderful online learning experience. Before we get started, we've had some time since we launched early this evening for you to get comfortable with the Blackboard Interface, but just a real quick refresher. You see the chat supervised window. That's where you can type your question, and we'll monitor the questions as we are working during our session. Also, remember you can press the talk button to talk. When you have finished talking, make sure you press it again to turn the mic off. And then you see the PowerPoint presentation is displayed here in the overall whiteboard space. We're not going to actually use any of the tools tonight or run a poll, but those are some tools you might use possibly at some point if you're going to have a Blackboard session with one of your facilitators in your course. If you're just joining us, welcome. We've started our session, and if you have any questions or if you can't hear, please just indicate that in the chat window. We've had a little bit of time to get to know one another before we started. Of course, I'm Sophia Stone. I lead our online professional development efforts, and many of you, we've had conversations, email and via telephone, so it's really great to have you here this evening and be connecting like this. Lisa Hervey is a research associate and also a teaching assistant professor in the instructional technology program, and she facilitates a number of our courses and develops them. She'll discuss with you this evening the Innovate to Transform course that she's going to be facilitating and that she developed. And Brittany Burns is an online professional development specialist who facilitates our courses and works on instructional design and has done some development as well. So you're going to meet Brittany and learn about the course. Wanted to mention that Jackie Bell is also in the audience. I think she's going to help us with some of the chat questions that might come through. And Jackie is a research associate and an online facilitator as well. So you've got 4 of us here in the room tonight that we can answer your questions. Real briefly, just to explain how we're going to conduct this session. Welcome. We're launching February 20th. I wanted to highlight that. We'll go over what you can expect as a learner and what you can expect from your facilitators as well during the online learning experience. Of course, you're going to meet and talk with your facilitators. They're going to give you an overview of the courses. 2 courses tonight that we're going to highlight are the Getting Started course and the Innovate to Transform. And then I'm going to touch briefly on what the next steps are so you can be prepared to review your learner support agreement and get ready for our courses that are launching February 20th. Also, we're going to have a question and answer, certainly ask questions in the text chat, and then we'll stop, as well and address them as we're going forward, but we'll set aside some extra time. We're staying until 7:45. Real briefly, just to give you the big picture overview, we often have teachers and ITS, the media coordinators, who take our courses, and this might be their very first online learning experience and the very first time they've actually engaged and interacted in an online environment that's hosted in Moodle. So what I'd like to do is first of all explain to everyone that when you enter your online course for the first time, understand that you are not alone. You've got your facilitators and you have the community of learners from your district and other districts as well that are there as a cohort. So you are supported in the learning process. The most important thing is to really engage and take advantage of the orientation that takes place. And both facilitators are going to chat with you a bit and let you know what to expect during that orientation period. So we have processes and activities in place, and we've designed the learning environment in a way that when you join in, you feel welcomed and connected, and there's a venue in place and processes in place for you to ask questions and to have those questions answered. It's just very important, especially for first-time online learners, but regardless for anyone starting an online course, to have that initial connection and sense of community. So our courses have been expertly designed to foster that engagement and that community for you. With that said, I'd like to highlight that you can expect from the facilitators personalized feedback and ongoing facilitation. And that is a tremendous strength of our online programs. Our facilitators are expert in the art of facilitation. They have their hearts in online learning, and you will see that in your online learning experience, you have regular, consistent engagement with your facilitator, and the feedback is personalized. And I know Lisa and Brittany will highlight that as they discuss their courses. Again, what you're hearing me really bring together in this bigger picture is you are a part of an online learning community, so you feel you're one of several, of many in your course, and also the content is engaging and the activities are engaging. And, while you can log in anytime, anywhere, understand that our courses are not self-paced, independent study online courses. They are fully facilitated courses where you begin the course with your cohort, and in each course we'll have several representatives from a number of districts as small cohorts. You will all begin the course together. You'll go through orientation. You'll have activities and assignments and discussion forum postings that have due dates. So that's often sometimes misunderstood when you start an online learning experience such as this one that's facilitated. And while it is log in anytime, anywhere, the course is designed with a set of really robust activities and learning activities that engage you with the content, with the Web 2.0 tools. So the learning outcomes are very positive, and you're part of a community as you work together. So I just wanted to make sure that that's really well understood, and I'm sure the facilitators can elaborate on that a bit more when they go through their courses. Roughly speaking, there's a total hour commitment of 30 hours for the course. You can expect to spend, budget 4 to 5 hours per week on your readings, your activities, your discussion forum postings, and when the course is over and you complete the end of course survey, then you'll earn 3 CEUs upon completing the course. Also, I'd like to mention that my understanding is we don't typically have many technical issues, but if in fact there's ever some type of a technical issue, we have an email account set up that we monitor and respond to technical issues or questions regularly. So that would be the opdlearn@gmail.com email. But understand, I just really want to set the tone and build your expectations as well from what we're going to offer you, that we're facilitators, we're here for you, we're engaged in your online learning experience, and while we're separated by the technology, by the distance, we are actually all together in this community. So you will hear a lot of that as we're going through our session. What I'd like to do is turn it over to Brittany, who facilitates getting started in the technology-enabled classroom. She'll give you some highlights and talk about expectations and some of the activities that take place. So, Brittany, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you for that lovely introduction. And if you can hear me, make sure to type into the chat box real quick. I want to make sure before I just dive right into content that everyone can hear me. Okay, seems like everyone's good. And if you're having any problems, you can pop it into the chat and we'll get someone to help you out. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about getting started in the technology-enabled classroom, which is actually a newly updated course. Our team really tries to stay on the edge of new innovations and new movements in the technology-enabled classroom. So we really try to update. So you'll have all the latest information, all the latest resources coming to you in this course. We're also give you a lens to look at what I'm going to do with that technology once it's in my classroom. How do I manage my new classroom with all kids have technology? So we're really going to be looking at how do I even just get started. So this is really just going to provide you a lens moving forward with your current or upcoming technology-enabled classrooms. And what's neat about this course is that all the tools actually require no login. So you won't have to worry about losing passwords or signing up with different email accounts or anything like that. The entire course is, oh, I think I'm moving a little bit too fast. I'm sorry. The entire course is actually built with tools that you won't have to update or anything. You don't have to log in. And the focus of this course, and the reason why we do this, is because the focus isn't on the tools, but on the learning and on how to really get started in your classroom and with the technology. So they're very simple tools, and it doesn't matter what level of technology you are, what tech skills that you would consider yourself. I'm going to be there to really guide you through, and if you hit any speed bumps along the way, I'm going to be right there to send you extra tutorials or anything like that. So even if you don't feel like you're very tech savvy, it's all right. We've all been there, and Lisa and Jackie and Sophia can say the same. We're very understanding, and we're there to really help you learn. We're there for you, not to stress you out or not to overwhelm you with the technology. So that being said, Sophia gave us a lovely little overview of what the course will look like in general. So I'm going to just walk you through a little bit of the content. So we're going to start with Tpac, which is really just going to set the lens for the rest of the course. So that's going to be kind of our main theme is technological, pedagogical content knowledge, which I know you probably may not have heard of before, and that's okay. We're going to be learning about it in the first week. The next is going to be the 4 C's, which is creativity, communication, collaboration, and critical thinking, and how we can really leverage these with our teachers and what we can do with the technology. The next is looking at how we can actually work on projects with the technology, especially creative projects that really engage students and balance their talents, which through the lens of universal design for learning, which is a big word, but it's really looking at how we can use students' interests and individual needs and skills to build learning for them and not just, at them. And the next, we're going to talk about managing the technology-enabled classroom acceptable use policies, really looking at how I can set up my classroom, what can I do when to really steady when students have the technology and really kind of stop the misbehavior before it begins. Then this week, we're going to be discussing connecting students to the world. So really looking at how we can safely engage students safely and ethically to the world, and really looking at digital citizenship and what that means for the students and as well as us teachers. And the last week, we're going to end with social media for the modern educator. So really looking at how we can leverage modern social media to connect each other and with others around the world and other educators with social media. So I know that was probably a little bit quick. Does anyone have any questions? Okay. It doesn't seem like it. All right, my expectations are, it's going to begin on Monday, and then it's going to end on Friday. So Wednesday is actually the due date for the discussion. So we're going to have a couple days where we can read through the resources, and I highly encourage you to get started the weekend before. So kind of take your time, read the resources over the weekend, and then the discussion forums are going to be due on Wednesday, and then activities and projects are going to be due on Friday. And these are very, very low-level, easy projects. Again, you won't have to log in, and they're very basic tools. So you won't have to worry too much. I really hope to not overwhelm you with the tools. information that we're trying to discuss. And that's pretty much all I have to say about the course highlights and expectations. If there's no more questions, I might turn it over to Lisa. Does anyone have any questions for me? Okay, yes, Sophia, you have a question?
Hi, Brittany. I just wanted to stop in for a minute before we move on to Lisa, since we've had Camille join us and a few others. I wanted to ask, how many of the folks that are in the audience are actually taking the Getting Started course? Because I do want to make sure we take a few minutes and address any questions that might come up before we move to Innovate. So do we have individuals in the audience who are taking Getting Started? Oh, Camille, no problem at all that you're late. Thank you so much for joining us. Okay, Steve, it sounds like Steve is going to take Getting Started. Is there anyone else?
This is Camille. I'm going to take Getting Started.
Okay, terrific. And Melinda. Someone might have their mic on. Well, do feel free, as we're moving on to the next course and chatting with Lisa, if you have any questions on Getting Started, to type those in. Let's see. Okay, someone just mentioned there with Julie. Oh, that scrolled up so quickly I couldn't see it. With Julie at NERSMA. Okay, terrific. Excellent. Well, I think Brittany gave us a wonderful overview of the course and the highlights. And again, what you're seeing is, if you go back to the initial discussion I had with setting the expectations and how our courses are built and what the online learning experience and the environment is like, you'll see that definitely from the time you enter the course, there's a scaffolding and we have a strong orientation, a set of activities in place. So it really does build that type of community that's sustainable through the end. And I'll turn it over to Lisa, who's going to talk to us about Innovate to Transform.
Hello, everybody. Before I get started, I want to check in with you and let you use the emoticon just above all the names on the left. There's a drop-down menu. If you guys would go ahead and select emoticon, let me know how you're feeling so far before we move on to Innovate. All right, there we go. We've got some smiley faces going on. All right, my name is Lisa Hervey, and I'm very excited about being the facilitator for Innovate to Transform the Classroom with Web 2.0 tools. This is a very exciting course can everybody hear me? Just give me a quick yes just to make sure. This is a very exciting course that really builds upon the foundation that Brittany sets in Getting Started, where Brittany's course really does deal a lot with like some of the kind of logistics and the classroom management types of issues and responsible use policy issues that you're going to tackle in that Getting Started course, which are things that need to be in place as you begin to think about the real deep and sometimes, a little scary pedagogical shifts that you're going to have to make as you begin to introduce digital resources into your learning and teaching. So the Innovate course is very similar to Brittany's. It's an online Moodle course. It starts with a 3-day orientation, and then it has 6 weeks that run from a Monday to a Friday. And much like Brittany said, kind of encourage you to kind of work ahead on weekends because there are no formal assignments on weekends. So giving you time to look ahead to the material so that you can work on those each week with those colleagues in the course. So Innovate is really designed to help you dig a little bit deeper into the National Educational Technology Standards for Students that was developed by the International Society of Technology of Education. And they're very similar to our North Carolina Instructional Technology Essential Standards. So in the first week, you'll kind of pick up on the Tpac framework again, which is really just the 21st century knowledge that you need to have, really combining your pedagogical and content knowledge and drawing in your new growing knowledge of technology. So you'll really focus around creativity and innovation as you begin to think about how do I leverage Web 2.0 tools to help my students be successful for the 21st century and prepare them for jobs that don't even exist yet. In the second week, you'll tackle communication and collaboration and looking at resources to help you support that in your classroom, as well as looking at a tool called Voki that actually allows you to communicate as well as your students. In week 3, you take a look at delving into how students begin to critically evaluate research and information and what is this thing called online comprehension. And we tackle actually Google Forms in that week. In week 4, we do a survey of those ideas, resources, videos that really support critical thinking and how that's such an important skill as we move forward in the 21st century. In that week, you work with a tool called Storm. And on that note, I want to let you know that we tried the best that we can to make sure that the tools that we use and model are available for use across multiple platforms, be that your mobile device, your laptop, or your desktop. In week 5, we tackle digital citizenship. What is the etiquette, the netiquette, if you will, that's required, that both as teachers looking at fair use, as well as how we help our students avoid bullies on the internet, how to be safe on the internet, to have etiquette on the internet. And we take a look at Pinterest in that week. And finally, we wrap it up by helping students really understand technology operations. And one of the ways that we do that a lot in our courses is we use a screen casting tool where we can actually record what we're doing on our computer so that we can scaffold the learning of others. And so we think that's a really unique technique and strategy for both teachers to use in their delivery of content, as well as helping students use it to help teach each other what they're doing when they're using technology. So as Brittany said, that was, I'm sure, a very quick overview, and I'll go ahead and pause now for any questions about Innovate to Transform course. Well, if there's no more questions, I'll just quickly talk about some of the supports that you'll get. In my course, you'll receive a weekly email that sort of says, week 1 begins. So that'll come to your email. I also have a speaking avatar that will give you kind of a weekly update about what's up for this week, what's kind of due, any kind of just-in-time scaffolding. I will also provide a summary using a variety of tools after each week of our learning together to sort of highlight, where we were, what we sort of discussed in the forums, and some of the great contributions that you guys will make to the course. One other feature that you'll find in my course is that there will always be a Google form that's open to you. So anytime you want to give me some quick instant feedback or ask a question about the course itself, that's going to be available to you, and I will check that on a daily basis looking for your feedback. And of course, we'll have a water cooler in our course as an open discussion forum. If you want to give me some feedback privately, that'll be there for you. So that's it. Innovate's a great course. I think starting with getting started and moving on to Innovate is a really great bundle in terms of PD, and we're excited at the Friday Institute to support you in your growing capacity with digital resources courses in your personal learning and teaching. And I'll turn it back over to Sophia.
Thank you, Lisa, and thank you, Brittany, for sharing highlights with the courses, expectations, support mechanisms in place. Again, everyone, what I'm hoping you've gathered from this session is these courses and this online learning experience is really a community type of experience. When you enter into the online course, you're not alone, and while you can log in anytime and from any place, you're part of an online learning community. And again, a key distinguishing attribute of our courses is, as you've heard, the expert facilitators that provide that ongoing facilitation throughout the course experience. So whether you're a first-time online learner or whether you've taken other online courses, this is sure to be a tremendously positive and really robust learning experience for you. I had checked through the chat briefly while Lisa was talking and saw there were a few questions where individuals asked if they were registered for the course and so on. So that takes me to the next steps. And what I'd like to mention is I did in fact send an email out, I think it was well over a week ago, to everyone who was registered. So all of you are registered for the course, but please double check and make sure that my email is not going to your spam box. Also, I sent information out to your district liaison as well, so they're aware of the registration, they're aware of our learning environment, the procedures, and the expectations. And that brings me to this. The next step is make sure that you check your inbox. By February 8th, I'm going to have sent you a learner support agreement. And that's a very important document because it highlights really important information. It's going to tell you how to access your course. It's going to tell you what your login ID is. It's going to tell you when your course is available and technical requirements in terms of browser and so on. So that's an important document. It's called a Learner Support Agreement. It's going to come your way on February 8th, so do look out for it. Make sure that you read it real carefully because at the very bottom, you notice I have here take action exclamation mark. At the very bottom of that document, it's going to ask you to respond back to me that you've understood everything provided, and this will help me to know for sure, and then I'll pass this on to your facilitators that you in fact have received your login ID and you're aware of how to log in and access the course and the technical requirements. So that is the next step to be ready for this great journey that's going to start on February 20th. I wanted to highlight one other thing because I think this is a wonderful attribute that we have in our courses. Lisa had mentioned that there is a Google form set up where you can provide feedback ongoing, and I had mentioned there is an end-of-course survey, but again, just to highlight, our courses are, really designed with you in mind. So when you have a question or if there's something that, might not be working just as you expected, you'll see when you log in how you can enter your feedback into that Google form, and then that allows the facilitator to make some changes right away if needed. So that's a tremendous extra attribute that we have for our courses. So you're not waiting until the end of course survey is very important, but certainly if there are any questions that have come up, we like to address them early on. So, okay, I'm going to stop one quick second and look at a few more questions. I see there was a question that just came in with this class being on Moodle, will it look like a course on Blackboard? Now, I can share from my experience, and there might be some others that can chime in. Yes, Lisa's right. The Moodle courses look more like web pages, and I have taught in Blackboard before, so I can tell you it is nothing like Blackboard. very user-friendly. Lisa, is there anything you'd like to chime in about the design of the course? Because the user-friendly piece in the interface is critical.
Well, thank you, Sophia. So yeah, our team very much strives for a very clean, clear design, and we've definitely in the last last 6 months or so really gone to an icon-driven type of interface. So I promise that everything will be laid out there for you. It will be really very simple navigation to get you from week to week, from assignment to assignment, to form to form. I think that they're very aesthetically pleasing, and we find that people really have very little issue navigating them. But here's the good news is that both Brittany and I will actually make a video in both of our courses that will actually screen capture how you would actually navigate the course once you do make it to the course and it's in the orientation. So we will help you out every which way.
Thank you, Lisa. And just to highlight something that Lisa mentioned, she mentioned screencasts and videos and so on. That I had mentioned earlier on when we launched our session tonight, that you will have opportunities to engage with the content, and that's a perfect example of what I was leading towards. We have videos infused in the content and so on. So really, it is an engaging online learning experience for you. I believe there was a question that came earlier in the chat. I wanted to check 1 second. Okay. Yes. So tonight we talked about getting started and innovate to transform. There are several participants whose names were sent forward for registration for one of our content-specific courses, the English course, and I'm going to follow up with you on that after the session, and we can talk about it. Actually, right at this point, we don't have English ready to go. English is ready for the most part, but we don't have a cohort in place to launch English February 20th. We have some participants that have been registered, so I can follow up with you a little bit more about that. Let me turn my mic off 1 second in case anyone has some questions.
Sophia, if you don't mind, I think I'll step in. Go ahead, Steve.
Hi. I may have missed it. I see that February 20th we'll have a webinar. Could you tell me the time of that, or is there a specific time we should be on here?
Okay, Steve. February 20th actually is the first day that the courses launch, and I don't believe the facilitators are starting with the webinar. Are you referring to the next step slide that I have on the screen now?
I am.
Okay, well, thank you for asking. That's a terrific question. What I'm referring to here is that we look forward to seeing you on February 20th, and what I mean is in the course. So the course is going to be, courses are live and launched on February 20th. That will be the first day of your class, and that's the day you log in. So your login, when you receive this learner support agreement that I've talked about here that's on the slide, that is going to have the information that tells you here's where you go, the URL you go to log in your course on February 20th. So that's the first day of class, and you'll have your login ID and your password sent to you as well. So terrific question. We have another question about registration. If you're not, I have all the information for your registration, so if you're not certain, certainly send me an email. And again, or what you could do is if you would look towards your inbox by February 8th, possibly even sooner, but no later than February 8th, when you get that learner confirm for you that this is the course you're registered in. Here's your Moodle account, your login ID, your password, and here's the direct link to access the course. So I think when that learner support agreement lands in your inbox, a lot of those questions will be answered for you.
Thank you.
I'll just pause for a minute if there are other questions, but I do value your time. So if you've had your questions answered, we're at 7:35, and I'd like to thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy evening to join us. We've really enjoyed getting to know you and sharing online professional development that we offer with you. So if you've had your questions answered, thank you again for joining us, and you're free to log out. We're staying until 7:45, so if you have additional questions, we're here for you. Again, thank you, everyone.